Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Nerd Ledger. I'm Cage. Chair's here as always, and today we got a
Yep.
special guest, a very special guest, because we're going to be talking about Ahsoka, not just episode 8, which aired last night, but we're going to talk about the whole season. So I thought, what better time to get one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know, also one of the best people I know. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up? My name is Phoenix. Hardcore Star Wars fan, lover of Ahsoka, and all things Clone Wars Rebels. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do, like, because when Chair and I first started this podcast, it was originally a Star Wars podcast only, and so
Yeah,
I
across the
always
stars.
yeah we called it Across the Stars. It was great.
Love it.
But we transitioned because we talk about all sorts of other nerd stuff.
Yep.
But I always like to hear people's Star Wars stories, like when you got into it, what made you interested in it, and kind of why you love Star Wars. So if you want to just talk about like how you got into it, when you got into it, why you got into it, the floor is yours.
So I have like a PG-13 version, and then I have a little bit more of an R version.
We don't censor anything here, so.
No,
Perfect.
not at all.
So I will start with, I am kind of embarrassed to say the first like kind of Star Wars I ever watched was in 2019 when The Mandalorian came out.
Hmm.
And I have a little bit of a backstory, but I was dating this guy and we started watching The Mandalorian. And I was like, well, I need to watch Star Wars, right? Let's get the backstory of it. And this guy told me that I needed to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well,
Hmm.
in retrospect, I think that was completely wrong. I think that it should have been 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. That's how George
Yeah.
Lucas created it. That's how he wanted it. But I did watch the prequels first, so that's why they have a soft spot in my heart. That's why I'm part of the Anakin Skywalker fan club. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started, and I've just been hardcore ever since. And then that was the end of 2019. So in 2020, when COVID hit, I was doing nothing. So I binged watched Clone Wars and Rebels. Bawled my eyes out to a few episodes, and that's the PG-13 version. In retrospect of it all, Chair's really going to get to know me now. I feel like Cage already knows this about me, but the guy I lost my virginity to called himself Anakin, made me call him Anakin, and walked around school with a Padawan braid. So I'm like, is there a reason why I'm like a little corrupted here? I really don't know.
Maybe.
So, but yeah, so that's my story. I kind of went hardcore with it. I loved it. I am not really into a lot of other super nerdy things. This is just kind of my niche. I'm a very spiritual person, and so I love all things like the Force. I really am connected with those kind of things, and how like I love like the lightsabers and the fightings, and the Clone Wars was amazing for me. But it really comes down to like the spirituality of it. That's why I'm like super excited to talk Ahsoka. But yeah, so that's pretty much my background. Embarrassing as it is.
No, it's not embarrassing at all. I think it's great because like you get so many people that are like, oh well, where were you in 1977 when the first
Yeah.
one came out? Like you're not a real fan. Like it just goes to show like fans come from all walks of life. Like you'd probably know more about Clone Wars and Rebels than anybody I know. Even people who've watched Star Wars since they were kids. Like because you watch those shows over and over again. Like you know
Yeah.
you're a huge fan. So it's
Yeah.
like you don't have to have been a fan like since you were born like I was to be a real fan. Like there are real fans everywhere. So
And also, we're giving too much credit to Star Wars fans here. As Cage and I have discussed multiple times, Star Wars fans are just some of the worst people on planet Earth.
Hey, I'm one
Like,
of them.
Cage,
So it's
yeah, Cage, like,
we
um,
love to tear it apart.
yeah, absolutely. And just as always, sticking with the story, George Lucas, I think he sold the whole property because he was done with the toxic fandom, like because they were just assaulting him and like literally straight up harassing him and his family. It was wild. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
good old Star Wars fans. We're the best.
Absolutely. Okay, so
Yeah.
before we talk about Ahsoka, Phoenix, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Like outside of the series, just movie in general.
Yeah, just movies.
Okay, Revenge of the Sith, definitely.
Good choice.
Excellent choice.
I think I'm gonna point out a movie that is not part of the trilogies. That's I feel like unpopular opinion. So like outside of the trilogy, okay, so Revenge of the Sith is my favorite trilogy wise.
Mm.
Outside of that, I'm a big Solo fan. So I'll just put that there.
There's nothing wrong with it. We're both. I think it's fair to say we're both solo enjoyers.
Yeah, I enjoy. I showed up expecting a bad time, and was like, oh wow, this is actually really fun, and everyone like fits in with their character, and it was all great, and it was just a great little flick for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Glover did a great job.
He did. Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
liked his robot companion.
I would ask your favorite Star Wars characters, but I already know that. So.
Yeah. I wonder who it is. I wonder who it is.
So
I can't possibly tell.
Well, like, yeah, I would say outside, like the original trilogy, obviously Anakin, but then if you get into the nitty gritty, like Ahsoka, true and true. One of my best friends got me these earrings for my birthday, and I love them so much.
It's awesome.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, anytime there's like new Star Wars products, I just send them to her. I'm like, hey, look at this.
He sent me this. He sent me this. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite. It's my all-time favorite scene in every single piece of Star Wars film, and I'm not including literature. This is my favorite scene, like hands down. And it's Twilight of the Apprentice Part 2, Season 2, Episode 22. And I got this tattoo beforehand, but I love to like say that this is like secondary, Season 2, Episode 22.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's this backpack and it has like the scenes on it. And on the back, it says like, I am no Jedi and stuff. And it's on pre-order and I've been trying to order it for 2 days. And Cage knows like my struggle with this. I will get it. But yeah, I appreciate him always sending me the merch. Like the Lola back here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
We can't see it.
It's okay.
But I have one too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, it's on sale.
It's on sale for like $20. It's like originally like 100.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right. Anyway,
one more thing
listening
before we
is
get
gonna be
into
really
it.
confused, but
Okay.
I know. Can I just go over my mug real quick?
sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So we got Boba Fett. I can't see my screen, so I don't know what you guys can see. Boba Fett, Yoda, Vader,
Darth Vizzy,
and a stormtrooper, and Chewie, and Han, Luke, and 3PO.
What is 3PO holding a lightsaber?
He's holding his.
None of them are lightsabers. They're pieces of
dicks. They're holding
right,
their dicks.
Right, but I mean,
we're gonna get demonetized, bro. Our advertisers are gonna pull. I'm just kidding.
I like to believe that the stormtrooper is actually Ezra.
Yep. That's how much you love him.
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
I don't want to think about Ezra in that way.
Got it.
Why? Because he's a child. He's
but
all
not
grown up
now. Not anymore.
Not now.
You got that beard.
Actually, we're gonna get into that because.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a thing for Space Moses?
Oh man.
I got a thing for Space Moses. I really do.
Run around on his little space crab thing.
Yeah. So Ahsoka finale. Nothing happened. That happened last night, and I'm just interested in what people think about it. Because honestly, I didn't feel like it was as sensational as I was hoping it would be, which maybe it's just maybe I got my hopes too high. Maybe I got them too high. We'll start with you, Phoenix. What do you think?
So I 100% agree with you. I knew that episode 5 was going to be the peak. When you read all of these, I don't know, it's super hard to get away from all the articles when you're online. And so automatically you see that, episode 8 is going to be 42 minutes. And when you have all the questions still remaining, knowing you only have 42 minutes, like, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, that was the first thing I texted Cage, like when I said after I took a shower and I lay in my bed to watch it, I like logged on my PS5, hopped over to Disney Plus, and was like texting like, dude, isn't this supposed to be like an hour and a half? It only says 42. I thought like there was like a glitch or something. I don't know.
Right.
It was wild.
I at least wanted like a part 1, part 2, so I enjoyed. So can I get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah. Just before you do, we'll just say it. Spoilers. We
Spoiler
never
warning.
don't spoil things.
Yeah.
So
warning.
yeah. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can leave now.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm about to spoil.
Yeah.
You can come back
3, 2,
later.
1.
We need the views. All right.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
1, 2, 3, go. Loved. Thank you. This is my first time doing this. Okay. Absolutely loved like the Dathomir witch gift that they gave Morgan situation. Like, because Mother Talzin, like I was obsessed with like the double voice thing, right? And we knew the mothers had it, and so now like she like went on for it, and I loved those parts, and I believe we were trickled fan service there, and especially like with the Night Sister zombie thing when he kept on going on and on about how he had wanted to use the Night Sister magic once more. Of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna conjure up Maul. We see the Sam. I don't know how to pronounce his last
Sam
name.
Witwer.
In the Whitwer, yeah, like we see him in the credits. Obviously he's not Merrick or whatever. I was still holding on to that. But when I saw the zombies, I still was happy about it. I thought it was pretty cool. Like if kind of thing. It brought me back directly to that episode when they're on Dathomir with General Grievous. So I was really sentimental about that. But then when Ahsoka goes to fight Morgan again, it's like we already saw this in Mandalorian. We know Ahsoka can kick her ass. So at that point, I agree with Cage. I'm like, the plateau, or we already hit we're back to plateau. So
Yeah, I think they were hoping for like the bits of fan service to carry the episode like heavily, and even for some people, right? Like just seeing Thrawn is enough to get people to be like super excited about everything, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy Thrawn. I've read all the Thrawn books, but I don't know. This version of Thrawn, like, he's cool, but he's not terrifying to me. Like, there's no, like, underlying, like, fear I have of him until at the end when he says, today's victory is mine, long live the Empire or whatever. Like, that felt more chilling than anything he's ever done before in this series. Yeah, but they trickle in so much fan service. Anakin's Force Ghost, the Gods of Mortis, right? Like all these little things that are like supposed to be like, oh my god, look at all this. But at the end of the day, the story isn't done. Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of left like feeling like, all right, like.
So I relied heavily on Star Wars's. It's not saying that right. Post like before, yesterday before it aired, and it said season finale, and that got me thinking because there's all this talk about that movie and stuff. I'm like, well, were all of those cliffhangers like intentional? Like, are we going to get a season 2?
Well, the news today is that nothing's confirmed, but it's heavily spoken about at Disney that there will be a season 2, but because of writer strikes and everything, that's been held up, so nothing's confirmed.
It's probably gonna be 2 or 3 years if they haven't started shooting yet, dude. Like, how long did it take to make the original season? That's gonna be a while.
They can get it done, I think, quickly, but like we don't want it rushed either, right? So
yeah. And they got to recast the guy that did Baylor. That was
Balin,
name, right? Balin, yeah. They got to recast. They got to recast him because, like,
well, what CGI everybody nowadays.
Yeah, but I think one of the parts of the actor strike was that whole like a CGI thing. Is I don't know, like
you're right.
We just don't know. But maybe they'll do a recast. Maybe they'll maybe they'll give him like the Leia treatment where he just dies off screen. Like
you do have a good point though about the strike.
Yeah.
What did you think of the episode, Chair?
Gee Willikers. What did I think? I really didn't understand why I watched it. I think that's the most important thing. Like, I don't understand like what it was like leading to or where we're going with this, other than it's like leading directly into a season 2. And to be honest, I felt like it could have been probably better served as like the last season of the Clone Wars. Like they could have done that to it, where they could have just redone the Rebels all over again, and they could have included more characters. And I just don't. I don't know.
Like
I think like Zeb.
Zeb didn't show up at all in this.
I was waiting Zeb for like, why would he get a camo in the Mandalorian and not show up in the show that is obviously dedicated to Rebels? Like it just boggles my mind. Like there's like it's like when you're reading a story, you're driving down the road and there's a bunch of potholes everywhere and you're not having a good time when on the drive. It's not like blowing up your car or anything, but it's just ruining the experience. And I don't know. There's just a lot of strange. And like the Night Sister stuff was cool. Like, you know, it kind of reminded me of Knights of the Republic, because in that game you get like the Sith like have actual swords that they use to fight. Some of them have actual swords that they use to fight Jedi with, which is like, you know, a really cool callback, which I think Dave Filoni does. He's made a couple of callbacks to the old video games. I think that like, especially with the Crate Pearl. We don't have to talk about that right now. We can talk about that later. And
Yeah.
uh, I just think the episode was all over the place. They couldn't fit it all. It was so slow for the first 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, they're just gonna do they're gonna do crazy 16 minutes of action. And that's exactly what they did. I called it. Like, okay, they're just gonna do this wild thing where they just like, you know, you're speeding along at 35 miles an hour and someone like slams their foot on the freaking gas pedal and you just go. And they're riding on the the three wolves to get into the fortress. And there are a couple of things like I don't like this Thrawn mainly because like I think the when I finally decided that is when like he was looking down at the battle screen and like the Jedi got into the base, and then he just made that goofy face that was supposed to imply that he was upset. Like, I don't think Thrawn would show emotion like that. You know,
No.
like I think even in Rebels he didn't really show emotion like that. Like in the cartoon where you know you rely on over expressiveness of face for like you know the cartoonish effect. And I don't know, like the Jedi stuff was
Yeah, it's
cool. There's like cool little nuggets of things scattered throughout like this episode and like the show as a series, and I feel like that's it. Like you know, you're passing between cool little things that you kind of wanted to see, and then like it ends on a cliffhanger. Like one of the things I was reading on Reddit last night, everyone's trove of great information that's definitely not biased in any sort of way. You know, but that dude's story literally ended on a cliff, so it's actually a cliffhanger. So I thought you may appreciate that.
that's
You know.
funny.
You know, but even though it was like the statue of the sister or the father or whatever it was, I don't know. That's
It's
just
the
some people. That's
father
what.
and the son, right? The daughter wasn't there, which is
Yeah,
symbolic. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what were you saying, Phoenix? What were you gonna say?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I hella forgot.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. And I'm just stumbling through it because there's a lot here to unpack because it was a good show, like
There's a
overall.
lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But this is the capstone. This is the problem with like episodes like this when it's 42 minutes long. When you know they needed an hour and a half, like it's hard to focus specifically on what you want to talk about because there was so much going on. Like you know, and
Well, it's
I
because
remember now.
okay, go
their
ahead.
ship got shot down, right? And then they're riding off into the sunset, and then that droid looks over and he's like, "May the force be with you." And I'm like, I wonder if we're never gonna see that guy again. And then they literally just call him 30 seconds later, like, and then it just kind of defeats the whole purpose of him saying that while they're riding off into the sunset. And I was like, dude, what is fucking? It's like, what's going on here? And
Yeah, I
you're
hella
right,
forgot
Cage.
about him.
Yeah, you're right,
Okay.
Cage. This is Dave Filoni playing in a sandbox. But you know what? I don't want to sit around and watch a kid play in a sandbox. I don't want. I don't want to do
I'm
that.
kind of enjoying the sandbox. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I feel like if they
It's bringing me
animated
back.
this, I feel like if they animated it, we could have gotten 10 times more episodes and we could have gotten a lot more satisfying things. And I feel like the last season of the Clone Wars was really well received. Like, you know, and it was very artistic and like the orchestra music for some parts of it was amazing. And I don't think this needed to be a live action show is probably, I think, my final opinion on everything. I'll need time to think about that. I'm sure we'll talk about it all, but I just don't think this needed to be live action. I really don't.
Before we started this podcast, Chair and I said we were going to debate, and I already am like, I could say something about that. But
Yeah.
to go, I want to hear what Cage has to say about this last episode.
Well, I will be the first to say I do think being in live action does set it apart, and a lot of like I do think we needed that. I think it is important to have this because I think it's something people have waited a long time for us to see. Not only Thrawn in live action, but Ahsoka like get her own show. Like we saw in The Mandalorian, of course, but you know,
Yeah.
let's be honest, she didn't look very good in that.
No, we needed to see her in live action and for her to be
Yeah,
redeemed.
but then to also just get to see Hera and Ezra and Sabine, like that's all great. And again, it is just another element of fan service to do that in live action. But for me, this episode feel like. Sorry, go ahead, Chair.
No, I just want to say like really quick because I feel like they're going to build all these all these shows around the movie, and then they're going to sour the movie. That's what I'm worried about, honestly. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it is. You're right. It is really cool to see these characters in live action, but it also would have been 10 times cooler to see them with my butt in a movie theater with the widescreen with popcorn. Like, you know, like as that being the first experience. Like, oh man.
I don't know. I made a pretty good snackutery board last night, and I didn't have to,
Well, you can bring those into movie theaters now, so.
and I could pause when I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Well, I think the season as a whole, it almost feels like they were going for like this Empire Strikes Back kind of feeling, where at the end, right, our heroes have kind of lost, but you know there's hope, and you know that something else is going to happen. The unfortunate part is, like, we don't know what's next. We don't know if it's another season. We don't know if it's a movie. We don't know anything, and all we know is Sabine and Ahsoka set out to bring Ezra home, and they did. But now they're stuck. And and Thrawn is also back, which we knew would happen. Thrawn is back, and that leaves a lot of possibilities. That's interesting. That's exciting. What can happen now? Where are we gonna go? Like that's something that's good. But at the end of the day, you're just kind of like, it's not satisfying to have Ahsoka and Sabine trapped in the place that Ezra was trapped, because like it feels meaningless. Like, on one hand, you can look at where we started with Ahsoka, Sabine, everybody, right? All the characters, and you go to the end and you see growth in all of them, right? So Ahsoka goes from kind of like a jaded, over it, kind of character to having hope again, being her like snippy self again. Like she is over it, like she's not like grumpy anymore, right? So she's grown.
She's healed.
Yeah. Sabine also grew a lot throughout this season, right? Throughout these 8 episodes. And that's important, right? It's important to have your characters grow. But then, like, they're just stuck somewhere. And you're just like, well, why? Like, would it have been more satisfying to kill them? Or like, because
I thought they were. I honestly, when she started fighting all those stormtroopers by herself, I thought they were going to kill her, and I thought like, wow, that would have been the bravest decision anyone would have ever done. And
you thought they were going to kill Ahsoka?
Yeah, when she was fighting off all the people, so Ezra and Sabine could escape. Like,
Okay.
I thought that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ahsoka survived Order 66. She can survive a couple of deadbeat stormtrooper,
zombified stormtroopers that you can't kill. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just
Anakin Skywalker's like literal Padawan apprentice. She's bad fucking ass. Okay.
I know she's a badass. What I'm saying, it's like a badass way to kill her though, where she's fighting an entire army of the dead, dark energy magic by herself, so her our apprentices could apprenticify or whatever could escape.
I mean, Balin almost killed her. He pushed her off a cliff, and then she transported to another dimension. So.
Yeah, and like again, that other dimension thing is another like bone I really have to pick, like because Dave Filoni says like, hey, this isn't a plot device that I can just pull out of my ass to fix the problem I want to fix. Is like, I think just because that happened in an interview doesn't mean it's true.
I don't think it fixed any problems. I think it was just interesting.
He literally created this he created World Between Worlds years ago, and now he's using it, but like in a good way, in my opinion.
Well, I think he did it because he wanted to show everybody, hey guys, Clone Wars live action, here's Rex, look, here's Rex, hi, I'm Captain Rex, okay, off into the battlefield. Like, I just can't get over that cameo of him, like, hey guys, it's me, Captain Rex, and then he just runs off, like, just like, dude, what?
It's me, a Rex!
Yeah, exactly, that's exactly what happened, like, it was so stupid. I was like, what is going on? Like, are they taught they're just tripping balls. She's just tripping balls. Yeah. I don't understand.
To Kaje's point on the growth thing, I agree with you on the growth with Ahsoka 100%. She needed to finish that battle with Vader / Anakin, because she was pulled away into the World Between Worlds with, Ezra in season 4. So, and she also like time traveled, which was pretty cool. But that's not what I was talking about. Sabine, like, yes, she grew too, but this is the one part I hated. When we never really saw her like train that much, and she went from not being able to move the cup to, oh yeah, I trained, I'm great, I can move all things all the time. Oh my god, I'm gonna push Ezra all the way up to this Star Destroyer. Like, where did you get that?
Yeah. Well, it's because she was told to have faith in the Force, and she did.
And yeah, exactly,
like it's like when Luke is going down the trench and he has to believe in the Force. He has to believe in something bigger than himself to be able to destroy the Death Star, right? Because he was confident. He was like, bro, I got this. I used to bullseye womp rents in my T-16. They're no more than 3 meters wide. Yo, I am the man. I can do this shit. And then he's in there with his little scopey thing, and fucking Obi-Wan's like, Luke, what the fuck are you doing, man? Don't use your scope. Believe in the fucking Force, bitch. Yeah. And then once Luke believed in something bigger than himself, he could destroy the Death Star.
You've
So,
turned off
you know,
your targeting computer. Is everything okay? The classic line. That's just like a classic. I feel like that's such a classic line. Like, dude, what the fuck? I'm gonna say whenever I call someone, I want to say what the fuck. I'm like, hey, bro, you've turned off your targeting computer. Is everything okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah,
good
I
here.
think
Slight weapons malfunction.
when she had that like life or death moment with that like dark trooper zombie, when she literally had to, use the force or else it was like a life or death moment for her.
Yeah.
So I could see that.
Which was also it's so when she, like it's so funny because like when they have to keep the door open, hey, she's using the force to keep this massive stone door open. And then she's getting murdered by a zombie trooper, and it takes her like 30 seconds to get the lightsaber to come to her. And then she does the Kylo on-off thing right through the head, right? And then she's just like, all right, I will push you 50 meters through the air. It'll all be fine. Like,
You'll pull me. You'll pull me the rest of the way, Ezra. You can pull me right.
Okay,
And those
the funniest
soldiers,
part
dude,
of the
those two
funniest
soldiers-
part about
Go
that
ahead.
scene, though, sorry,
Yeah.
the funniest part about that scene, though, is you have Ahsoka in front and she's got her hand out. She's pushing the door open. Then you
Yeah.
have Ezra and Sabine on one of those wolf things, and Ezra's behind her doing this, and she's doing this, and like my first thought is, girl, you think you're doing something, but it's really the real Jedi that you're actually with.
Yeah.
Like, don't fool yourself. But anyway.
also, Huyang was still throwing shots at Sabine in this episode. Like,
I love
don't-
Huyang.
I don't remember what he said, but when Ezra was building the lightsaber, he said something about
Oh, yeah.
about
He said the
Kanan being
emitter-
like a proper
yeah.
master, or
No.
like, oh no,
Yeah,
you
he
were a
said,
good
like,
student. He said you must have been a good student or some shit.
Yeah. Did you also catch how he said that?
Right in
Oh,
front
like
of her.
Kanan's emitter is a little bit thinner than everybody else's. Did you
Yeah.
catch that part?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they were throwing shade about the freaking
How thin the
Dude,
lightsabers are in Rebels. Yeah.
They didn't look thin in Rebels. They just look really goofy, bro.
I hella missed that part, but I do agree with that.
But in the,
Okay.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Freeway intersection. Someone go.
I know.
We're on stop sign.
We're all just so excited. I brought this point up today, and I want to know Chair's thoughts. Where the fuck did that kyber crystal come from? Does Huyang just have a bunch of kyber crystals laying around to make lightsabers with?
I mean, probably. It's like, isn't that like the ship that he was like built those kids' lightsabers on from that episode? Like,
No.
like
No, all the kids went into the cave and got their own kyber crystal, and then they built their lightsaber around it. So that's why
Maybe
plot
Huyang-
hole.
Maybe Huyang had like a slave trade of kids. He just made go to the mines
Yeah.
and find all the
No,
crystals and bring
He
them
went
back
to
for
the
him.
Jedi. He went to the Jedi Temple out of Order 66 and picked them all up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just stole everybody's
that-
lightsabers and just started taking them out, taking them
that
apart.
kyber crystal thing, like, oh,
Can't
the
have
kyber
this good
crystal, the kyber crystal chooses you. They've been like, dude, so push and pull with that idea for so long. Like, even in Knights of the Republic 1, like the first game, like UK, like you're like, oh, you found your kyber crystal, it's chosen you, and then you can go in like a cave and find like 10 more.
Well, that's the thing
It
Star
doesn't
Wars
matter.
has done for a long time is like
Yeah.
they try to branch out, and then it's like what's canon, what's not. Nobody actually knows. It's like
Yeah.
if you read a lot of the like the extended universe books, like you're just like, wow, like I'm glad none of this shit ever came true, because like you have just like the most overpowered people. Like if you read the Thrawn books, you have a
Yeah.
clone of a Jedi Master who could literally connect with people's minds 4 light years away from him.
Yeah.
Like that's
Like Luke-
crazy.
Luke, I remember in the last couple of books, like when the Leia, like the merit when frickin' Han ran off to Dathomir to rescue Leia from being married or whatever the fuck that button movie, that whole sequence was. Like, I remember like Luke was getting so powerful, like he could just kill people with like a thought, and like he had force lightning like rolling off him all the time because he was just so OP. Like, he
yeah,
became
yeah.
like the Master Supreme Wizard. It was awesome. That would have been cool to see, but we can never.
We
get
should
what we
have
want.
a separate episode about literature, because I want to talk like Mara Jade and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
gotta
man.
love some Mara Jade.
And George Lucas'
Mhm.
favorite.
I know. Yeah, not to get on a
Yeah.
tangent, but
Yeah, but I don't know, like overall, like it was still to me a solid season. It just feels like it didn't want to. At the end of things, Dave Filoni was like, "Well, I'm not interested in ending this story. Like, I'm just gonna leave it here for you." And like, if you don't end,
he
a
pulled at our
story-
heartstrings a lot.
Right. If you don't end a story though, it feels unsatisfying. Like it feels
Yeah.
like so, sometimes it's good, right, to leave people wanting more, but not when you're ending something. Like when
Yeah.
it's over, like you want it to be over, and you can still build off that in the future.
Especially when lately he's been making so many spin-off series that have never, okay, well, obviously Mandalorian has had more than one season, but Boba Fett, don't know if we're getting one. Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, probably not going to get second seasons of any of those. You know, Andor, I'm hoping.
We were getting a second season of Andor,
Yeah,
Okay.
like
but at least
Obi-Wan is
that
still up in the
series
air.
ended its story.
Yeah, and Andor is
Did
God.
it?
Andor is so fucking good, dude. Oh, I wish I could like delete Andor out of my brain and watch it again.
Rewatch it.
And just like discover like I don't know, because it's great too. Because I was like discovering like I don't know, it's some show about that dude from Rogue One. Like Rogue One was a good movie, but I don't know if he needs like his own little side story. And then I watched it and it was like one of the best things
So
I've ever
much more
watched.
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's playing
But
on it's playing on FX. That's how you know how good it is
yeah.
when FX literally pays Disney for the rights to play the movie on their like freaking direct movie channel. It's
Yeah, but no, yeah, to that point, I feel like Filoni did a lot of that, first with like I don't know if it's like Merrick or Merrick,
Yeah.
they he wanted us to have all of those theories, right? And I think he made all of these cliffhangers and made all of us unsatisfied because he knows that we're as big as fans as he is. I mean, he's the creator, but you know what I mean, like he wanted us to feel that way. It was very intentional.
yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's so much in Ahsoka to love, right? Like from beginning to end, there are things in there for everybody to enjoy. But like it's like you said earlier, like it just peaked at episode 5, and then I felt like 6 and 7 were building for a major finale, and the major finale was just another episode building for something else. And so I'm just like, okay, like Balin is one of the most interesting characters in this series, and the last thing you see of Balin is more interest and no answers. And I'm just like, okay, like you don't understand most of his motivations. Even Shin, she just goes to like the mercenaries. That's the end of her story. Like,
Yeah.
why didn't
Builds
she
up
go?
her
Why didn't
lightsaber.
she go to? Why didn't she go to Ahsoka or something? Like, yeah.
She's too. I know. I wanted to grab it and do that, but
She's become the bandit leader,
But
bro. The turtle people and the
why isn't
bandits
she
are going to be
seeking out
fighting a
Balin
war.
again? Like,
we
Don't
needed,
ask questions. Just be
in my
happy and
opinion,
consume product.
I think that we needed just a little bit. And my issue is I totally think they totally could have fit this in the 8 episodes. We should have gotten a bigger background on where Shin came from. How did Balin find her? Why is she still so in the dark about everything? I feel like their connection is fairly recent, and we don't know any about that. We don't know how strong-willed she is. We don't know her backstory. So when we are at that standpoint with Ahsoka is like, having her hand out saying, I can help you, and she has that moment, we don't know why she has that moment. We don't know what her background was. How did Balin find her? I know I'm repeating myself, but I just think that's very interesting. I think if we just got even 10 to maybe even 15 minutes of a little bit more background, I would be so much more satisfied with the finale.
yeah, maybe this is where I struggle, right?
2 more episodes, another hour on this. Like, there's like, again, like this is like a huge issue with the show, and like this is a production problem. Like, really, like constraining it to this little few episodes with this few time, like it's just so strange to me. You have the budget. I know the money's there. It's not like it isn't there. They could have made more episodes. They just didn't want to, and I don't know why.
This is where I always struggle with things like this, because I feel like maybe we're just asking too much. Maybe we're just spoiled, right? Because you think about the original Star Wars, right? When Obi-Wan mentions the Clone Wars to Luke, there's no further explanation for that. People had to wait 37 years or some shit to get answers to the Clone Wars. Like 35 years.
True.
25 years, sorry. But, to figure out what the Clone War was and all this other stuff. And we're just like, yo, you're not telling us anything about these side characters in the show.
We need more. Well, life is just so much faster than it used to be. Like, we didn't have Disney Plus back when the original trilogy came out. Even when the prequels came out, we didn't have Disney Plus. Everything's just so much faster and accessible. So.
Well, it's clear that Dave Filoni it's clear that his idol is George Lucas, right? Because George Lucas didn't have the Clone Wars fully fleshed out when he wrote Star Wars, and Dave Filoni doesn't even have his side character stories fleshed out when he wrote this series. Like I don't think he fully wrote the backstory of Shin and Balin and everything. He just wanted them to be mysterious and cool, I think. Because at the end of the day, that's what Star Wars has always been. It's just been cool, Star Wars is just cool. And we don't always get the best explanation or the best storytelling, but we get cool fight scenes and whatever else.
Well, and too, storytelling is an important part, is that you get a complete story from beginning to end. And the thing about this season that really knocks it down a lot is that it wasn't a complete story. Things were just kind of happening. There was some character growth for sure, but there were just a lot of things happening, and these characters were rolling through these events, and that's great and cool. She went to the world between because she got thrown off a cliff, and Anakin was there for some reason. And hi, I'm Captain Rex. Okay, bye. And then and then and then they have a fight. Because something about I'm not you anymore, Master, and
she's
then
fighting
she's back
for survival. That's the whole point.
She's back alive, and
I wasn't here for your guys' episode 5 discussion, but I'll put in my 2 cents. I thought, I thought it was very cool to see, the very beginning where she has that conversation with Anakin. I can't remember if it's before or after, it's the scene where all the gurneys are around her. I think it's afterwards when she was like, what if I don't want to fight? And Anakin goes, well, then you die. So ever since she was 14 years old, she was told that she has to fight or else she will die. So she's been in this fight or fight mode for her whole life. And now in Ahsoka, in the beginning, when she's 45, all she's known is to fight. And she still doesn't know her place in the universe. She knows what her master became. She has that burden on her. So when we see her in the world between worlds, one, she needed to have that defeat with Anakin/Vader, because in Rebels, Ezra pulled her out. She never got to finish that. She needed to have that healing. She needed to face her master. And my favorite thing was when she was like, my legacy is of death and war. And he was like, is that what this is about? We're going to talk about that. Anyway, I thought that was so good, and when he first initially drew his lightsaber, I was so excited to see what color it was. And when I saw blue, I was very interested. And then when we got to the Siege of Mandalore and it went red, I don't really know where I was going with that. I just got really excited.
That episode overall was just fantastic. Just the philosophical kind of experimentation they were doing with things, it really worked. And just, it gives you this insight into Ahsoka of she's been fighting her whole life, and she's still fighting, but she doesn't feel like she wants to anymore. She's like, what's the point even of fighting anymore? And at that point, she's at the point where she needs to fight to live, and she's questioning, do I even want to continue on? What's even the point?
Because every time we win, because she's seen it how many times we win, the Empire comes back, we win, the Empire comes back, and now she's seeing it again with Thrawn. So to add on to that feeling of defeat,
yeah.
Well, and it's
into what she said, is this all I have to leave my apprentice? Is this legacy of warfare? What is she going to teach her apprentice that she takes in one day? That's not to knock that episode was a bad example, but it's also counting the first just getting back on the train for a second, there's a Dathomir, for some reason, there's a map to Thrawn in some dumb Dathomir temple on some planet that nobody knew about until right now.
Okay, I figured that out.
You did? Okay, go.
Because they explained a bit of it in this episode, finally, right? So, first of all, they explain that the Night Sisters are the ones that got Thrawn's ship working again with magic. So there's that.
No.
But also, the Night Sisters on whatever the fucking planet they're on is.
Peridia?
Peridia, there you go. Yeah. They called out through the Force or whatever, and Morgan Elsbeth heard them. So my assumption is the star map wasn't to Thrawn, the star map was to Peridia. And she knew Thrawn was on Peridia because she heard the Night Sisters calling out through the Force and telling her, right? They mentioned that in this episode. They're like, oh, you heard our call and you came. Right?
Yeah.
So she made the star map to know how to get to Peridia not to know how to get to Thrawn, but she knew Thrawn was there because of the Night Sisters. That's.
But are you saying that Morgan made the star map?
I'm pretty sure she did, or
maybe
she
it's
found
And then
it.
hit it?
Because
And then she hit it?
Yeah,
didn't they say that was like the ancestral home of the Dathomir witches or something like that? Wasn't that something they said?
Peridia was.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to Chair's point, the place where they were looking at the star map to go to, that was an ancient, because Shin was like, where are we? And I think she mentioned that.
Yeah, I thought earlier in the season Morgan was like, oh, she knows where the map is. Like she made it seem like she hid the map there, and
she was waiting for the hyperspace ring to be finished to unwrap. Like, why wouldn't she keep it on her person
I have
and not?
No idea. Maybe because if she gets captured, she didn't want them to get it. I have no idea. None of that made any sense when we first started.
But Ahsoka didn't follow Jedi protocol to get that information out of her.
Yeah.
But obviously she knew where it was, so maybe I just assumed she's the one who hid it there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also question that. Why wouldn't she go get it herself?
It would also make sense for that makes more sense to me. Okay, this is an ancient Dathomir map home. Like, okay, that makes sense. Like, you build a temple that has like a star map that goes home, and it's like the wellhead or something. That works better in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if she made the map, why would she need it to get the coordinates to go?
Because you have to get it exactly, right? Like you need the chart, like the pathway, because if you don't do it exactly, you'll get lost or die or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Probably die.
Yeah. But the base way for lightspeed travel, like it's just a really easy plot device for we need the exact coordinates or else we'll like run into a star. Like that's what the hand was doing, saying like you could punch in like you go into your cockpit on your frickin' fighter or your starship or whatever, and you told the caca. You tell the on-ship computer, like, okay, calculate the coordinates for this place, and then it goes into like a database and starts finds the coordinates for that place, and you go there, or you find the coordinates yourself and you punch them in manually, and then you hope you don't die.
Right.
And like they also talk about sometimes about drift and all that kind of the hyperspace drift because planetary bodies move all the time.
And that's no moon.
Yeah, definitely no moon.
Yeah, but I also appreciate like the psychological aspects of like Ahsoka dealing with like this burden of wondering if she's also gonna be evil or become evil and like things like that, like in Thrawn playing on that. Like that's one of the only times you actually see Thrawn like do something semi-intellectual, because the rest of the time he's just saying the obvious. Oh, go kill them. Oh, they're breaking in. Go kill them. Night Sisters, I need you to go kill them.
Yeah, and like the frown, it's so funny because like you could tell, like I said, okay, now show that Thrawn's upset. And then like you could like the fucking the director called it after him, okay, like just do a frown or something like that, and he just did the dumbest. I could never.
But also like, I did love like the callbacks to Rebels. I like my favorite quote. It's so silly when he goes, probable is the wrong word, but he was like, I find this a probable outcome, or I find this a positive outcome. Like he's very like analytical, like almost like a robot. And it's very much, he's very meticulous, and that holds true. And I wanted to say something earlier when you said that Thrawn wasn't as like intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the memes about like how he's got like a pot belly now and stuff?
Oh, no, I haven't seen him.
They're like, yeah, because like, in Rebels, he was super fit and he was like fighting those, he would work out all the time. But like his time on Peridia,
Yeah, we didn't need Thrawn thirst traps, bro. We need the thirst traps with Thrawn shirtless doing those martial arts against those droids. We can see this in real life. We can see the sweat glistening on his blue skin, bro.
He's like almost 70, okay?
Bro, Thrawn, Thrawn was just hunting Ezra and eating those little turtle snail things. That's how he got so fat.
Oh,
it was
can we talk about this though? So speaking of, I want to know what you guys think of why, for the last 10 years, Thrawn and Ezra both kind of kept their distance from each other.
Oh, well, Ezra explains it.
One of those potholes that you run over and you're like, oh, wow, why was that there?
Ezra quickly explained it and was like, oh, I'm only one person. I couldn't, but now you guys are here. Let's go. It was super simplified, but.
Yeah, he was like, oh, well, he didn't have a lightsaber, right? But also like,
to his point, the first day we see him, I don't need a lightsaber. I got the Force.
Yeah, but then he's like, yeah, he kind of just briefly says like, well, like the Night Sisters helped Thrawn get his ship working again and gave him his army back, and so like if I tried to even approach the temple, they'd just kill me or whatever. That was his explanation. I don't know if you buy that explanation, but yeah, why Thrawn didn't go looking for Ezra, nobody has any fucking idea. He could have snuffed him out and murdered him, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, Night Sisters, you can do all this crazy shit and bestow powers upon Morgan Elsbeth and call her from light years away, but you can't help me find this one little shit.
Weaponless little
Yeah.
shit.
He's hiding
Little
himself with the Force, bro.
Yeah,
And his slingshots.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
The turtles are too quick. They can't nail him down. Those bandits can nail him down, but Thrawn can't. And
Exactly.
the bandits definitely can't communicate to Thrawn where Ezra is and the turtle people are at any time. That just can't happen. That is impossible.
When you see on the map, it's literally like 10 miles maybe.
Bro,
It's like, oh,
also
that's too far.
Also, when Ezra and Sabine are like fighting at the top of the temple, and like all the zombie troopers are around them, like, bro, Ezra used the Force to stop a lightsaber from cutting him in half, but he can't Force push a fucking zombie off a cliff.
That part. Okay, not only that, I'm like, Ezra, you should be able to push Sabine and then you can jump yourself. Okay, and then Ahsoka could jump herself. We've seen her do it before.
Dude, I just always remember Ezra being like this plucky, like literally, like he gets himself in extremely dangerous situations, like and almost kills himself a couple times in Rebels because of his like blind confidence in himself. And then when he's in the moment, like he can't like run up and say, "I can make this jump." Like when he said, "I can't make that jump," I was like, "Dude, come on, what the fuck is this?"
They just needed to stick Ahsoka and Sabine together, right? And they needed it was a callback to episode 3 or sorry, I was too aggressive. Episode like 3 or 4, I can't remember, when Hugh Yang was like, stay together, and they didn't stay together and something bad happened. And so when Sabine was about to leave, she was like, gotta stay together, and that's why we're like, oh, she stayed.
Yeah, but then they left anyway. They left Ahsoka by herself anyway to fight Morgan, who we already know she can destroy. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. She demolished her, and we knew she could do that. Like, that was no feat.
Yeah. Like, I just don't know what Thrawn actually did to do anything. Like, he bought some time. All right. Like,
what do you think they're gonna do on Dathomir?
Did they mention it? I don't remember.
They got all those they got all those coffins in the cargo hold. Like, so I'm assuming they're gonna do something wild. Like,
so yes, we were all I had a little watch party, and we were like, because the cargo's complete, and then they had that scene, and I was like, are those coffins?
Yeah, they look like coffins. Like, they're person shaped, and usually like this, they're pretty. Usually, Dave Filoni's pretty intentional with like the stuff he does. So
yeah, we wouldn't get that shot if it wasn't for a reason.
Maybe they're just a bunch of Night Sisters. It'd be cool to see. It'd be cool to see if
they got from the temple, the Night Sister temple.
Have we seen a live action Force Whip yet? Like a real one, like one of the Force Whips.
What?
They have Force Whips. The Night Sisters, don't they have whips? No.
Force Whips.
Okay. I played this game called Empire War, and in Empire War there was a sequel called Forces of Corruption. And Forces of Corruption, you go to Dathomir to break one of your buddies out of an Imperial prison, and you recruit a Night Sister. And she has a Force Whip, so I thought that was kind of like a thing that maybe would have happened.
Is
I remember the arrows.
Yeah, the arrows would be cool to see too.
Is it like a lightsaber, but like
it's like a whip though, but it's like a whip. Yeah. You can't. Take the freaking brain out of the gun.
The slave trade people that Anakin hates. What are those?
Yeah.
They use those, don't they?
Yeah, but we haven't seen it in live action, I don't think, right?
No.
That'd be cool to see. Or the arrows would be cool to see, like some Night Sisters assassins doing some crazy like martial arts like action sequences would be pretty cool.
Bro, Disney just needs to abandon all their plans of like trying to make the sequels work by because we all know what's gonna happen. Thrawn is gonna start building the First Order now or whatever, some shit to build up for like. To make those sequels even more canonical. Stop. Just go back. Give us a Dark Disciple movie with fucking Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss. Like, let's do that shit. Like, that's interesting. Let's do an Old Republic thing with Darth Bane. Let's bring in Revan and Malak. Let's just do cool shit, like...
Darth Nihilus.
Like
Yeah.
even Darth Treya, like please,
Can you
yes.
imagine seeing a scene of when Darth Nihilus ate that whole freaking planet of the Karn people, those people that are blind? Like he just, this is Sith, like he eats life, and he sat down, he literally landed on a planet and he consumed all life on the planet. It was wild. Can you imagine seeing, he's like a walking person, but he's like a Death Star and he's a person. I feel like,
Yeah,
you know,
that could get way too OP though, you know.
oh, well, then that's the whole thing though, because like, you throw the princess at him, the sole survivor or whatever her name is, and it's Revan's love interest, bro. Telling you, it would have been amazing. Knights of the Republic 2 is the best game ever made, and best RPG ever made.
Yeah,
Kreia
I
in
know.
Kreia in live action, bro. Telling you,
So
best.
I never had the luxury of like playing those games, but I I
They're on
watched
Steam.
the I watched the like the story plots on YouTube and stuff, and then I play Galaxy of Heroes. That's like my guilty pleasure. So
Yeah.
that's how I know the characters and stuff, even though people say it's like a really shitty game. I think it's
No,
fun.
doesn't Cage, you play the Marvel one? Didn't you play the Marvel? What did you play
I
for?
used to, yeah, the Contest of Champions, and I never played like Snap or like the like those games are so pointless to me. I don't know why, but
They're,
I
it's
mean,
yeah, they're like Galaxy of Heroes is just like a strategy game, and so people find it really boring. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't have an actual console, and so that's like that's my extent.
Got a laptop. I guarantee you that
I know.
your laptop can play Nazi Republic. Trust me. Trust me on that
I don't
one.
yeah,
Well,
bro, a toaster could play Knights of the Old Republic
Yeah, I really like a modern
or a
toaster definitely
potato.
could. Yeah. Go on Steam and buy it. It's literally 99 cents, bro. It's in the 99
Right.
cents. Yeah. Buy Empire at War. Oh man, Tiberzon. He's so cool.
Has anybody
Video games.
checked out any of the High Republic stuff?
No, I'm supposed to read the books, but I'm reading. There's a new Dragonlance novel out right now, so I'm not reading that.
I like I have had a couple of sick days, and so like kind of over the summer, and I would just like lay on my
Nope.
sorry, I'm getting aggressive. I would lay on my lazy boy and I just would surf Wikipedia for like 8 hours. And so I'm educated to an extent. Yeah, pretty much. I just Wikipedia is my gal.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to read more of those. And yeah, I started rereading Heir to the Empire, and as an adult reading it, some of the prose is just really bad. But it's still an interesting enough story without
Well,
the
no,
bad
it's
writing.
it's very pulpy, like that. Those Although a lot of those Star Wars books were just written by people that were kind of like their writing of fiction is almost technical. Like it's not really prose. Like it's more like, okay, we're getting from point A to B, and I can fill in all these like things and use these descriptors and all these words to pad in between the A and B, so it feels like a full book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Discovering
well,
a true prose like with Tolkien or like other people like with
yeah. Going from reading Lord of the Rings to reading anything else, you're just like, man, these guys are shit at writing.
or Wizard of Earthsea too, like Ursula
Mm.
K. Le Guin. If you're a K. Le Guin novel, she's probably like the best American novelist, to be honest. But or Wizard of Earthsea holds a really special place in my heart.
What about the comics?
Uh,
I'm totally hands off on anything
with
graphic. So yeah,
which comics?
So again, I haven't physically read anything. I go on YouTube and I have people narrate it for me, which is really awesome. And it's really just like the Darth Vader ones.
Yeah.
Um,
I read the
I know that
first
there's like some
run on Darth Vader, not the more recent ones though. Like I know Charles Soule did a
yeah.
run, and Charles Soule also wrote the first High Republic book that came out. But he's a well-known comic book writer, so. But that's the only one I read. And then I read all the first run on Star Wars by Jason Aaron's, I think, like back in 2015. And then like all the limited series like Leia, even the one with C-3PO, Chewbacca, Kanan, which I used to call Kanan back in the day when I read those, and I kept getting yelled at by someone who listened to my podcast because I never watched Rebels, and I was just reading those comics. I was like, yeah, Kanan, he's pretty cool, and yeah, so yeah, Kanan, Lando had a limited series, Dr.
Kanan
Aphra.
Jarrus.
Yeah. It's like Kanan, man. That's what it looked like. I don't know, Kanan. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, but I haven't read the recent ones. I have some of them, but yeah, the Darth Vader ones are all really good.
Yeah. It's really good like backstory, especially for me who hasn't been able to play the video games and stuff. I really valued the Vader series, and I know we're getting off topic, but the Vader series where we see those first few months of him as Vader, and he has to go and fight, I don't know what Jedi, and steals his lightsaber. And for the first time, being able to concept what happens to a red lightsaber when they bleed their hatred into the kyber crystal. It's like you really get that deep background that you don't get in any of in the film. So I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. All the like as a comic book enjoyer, like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Ahsoka goes, though, like it wasn't as good as Andor. Let's be honest.
Nothing. Yeah, Andor set the bar really fucking high. And I saw this post today, and it said, I wish more series were made like Andor, in a sense where, yes, Andor is set in the Star Wars universe, but it's not like, and I trust me, and as a spiritual person, I love like the spiritual magical aspect of Ahsoka, right? But Andor is so like real and intense and dramatic, and you feel so much more for the characters, and you almost forget you're watching Star Wars for a minute. Like, it's in the Star Wars universe, but it's just so much more in depth than anything else. And I feel like everything else, and don't get me wrong, I love the fan service, but everything else is very surface level, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I think if you look at not just Star Wars, but if you look at like Marvel as well, the best movies with Marvel are the movies that transcend the genre. The movies that could be any movie. It could be a movie completely unrelated, but you name your characters Captain America or whatever, and that's it. Like, the movie could have been any movie. Like, the biggest mistake comic book movies make is like they're trying to be a comic book, and you don't want to do that. You want to be like, stop trying to tell a superhero story. Tell a good story with the characters that are from comic books. Just like Star Wars, tell a good story set in the Star Wars universe, right? Make it feel like Star Wars with the environments and what are the languages and the aliens and the effects and all this stuff. But tell a good story. I don't want just a Star Wars story. Tell a good story. I guess The Last Jedi falls short of this, because I feel like that did tell a good story, but in the frame of Star Wars, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, even like, I know we're starting to talk about Andor, but like in the very first, forgive me if I'm wrong, I think in the very first scene, he's literally in a brothel. We've never seen that in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real shit. And
the closest was like the shady place on Coruscant that Obi-Wan and Anakin ended up in Attack of the Clones. He's like, you want to buy some nest sticks?
You want to go home and rethink your life?
Can I be straight up with both of you?
Yeah.
When I hated the first episode of Andor, and it made me think that I was going to hate the rest of the series, because I was like, oh wow, they're making an adult show. Ooh, he's in a brothel. Wow, he's talking to a loose woman.
Me tries
he feels upset about
episodes.
He feels upset about murdering somebody. Ooh, oh no! Like,
the funny thing is, they set up this whole thing about him trying to find his sister irrelevant to the entire plot. Has nothing.
It just dies off. It just dies off.
Yeah.
Fuck her then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not at this one brothel. Okay, my search is over. Well, he gets a little sidetracked, but that's neither here
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all the other stuff, like the espionage and like the crazy shit going on, the intensity. Like, that's what made Andor so good.
The slight stalkerness of that one guy with the girl. My heartstrings. But anyway, I would love to have another podcast episode about that. But yeah, Ahsoka. I kind of felt that way about Ahsoka, and I feel like a couple other people kind of reached out to me about the same thing. I had a lot of people say that, hey, I stopped at, episode 2 or 3. I mean, granted, those people didn't watch Clone Wars or Rebels, so they thought it was really slow. I thought it was slow too, but I still was happy about our Easter eggs and things like that, and it's hard to
keep you going.
Yeah, I had the flip action. Like, I actually thought episodes 1 and 2 in Ahsoka might have been a really good way to introduce people to all these characters, because, like, it's just like sitting down and watching A New Hope for the first time, never knowing what Star Wars is. Like, that's how you're introduced to everything, and like you're introduced to the Empire and the Galactic Senate and like different planets and high space travel. All these like things are just thrown at you, and they all kind of stick because you love it, because it's really entertaining and there's lots of cool stuff going on, and there's like the acting is great and all that stuff. And I felt like the same way for first few episodes of Ahsoka, but when I just saw what they were going for, and like for me, it's like they're setting up for a second season or for the movie, and so it's not going to be a complete season. I
know you guys talked about this on your episode breakdown, but like, I want to know your thoughts on the stomach stab.
Oh yeah. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, it doesn't. I mean, the way I make sense in my head is that like you have to think about like when Qui-Gon was stabbed in the stomach and died. That was like 40 years ago. Think about how much technology has advanced, right? And how quickly the she got to medical aid. Like whereas Qui-Gon was just like laying there while Obi-Wan is fighting.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. Like you can explain these things away. I mean, Darth Maul got cut in half and kicked down a shaft and survived.
He survived on hatred.
Anything can, you can survive anything apparently in Star Wars. So, Chair,
What?
your thoughts on the stomach stab?
Oh, it's it's one of those plot things. Like it's sometimes like you gotta wound a character everyone cares about, so you can like compel your audiences to want to keep like like oh wow I'm really invested in this show now. And yeah, like some stormtroopers die when they get like a little slash across their face, and like people or like across their chest, like and you see that little scarring, and it'll be like the big explosion pop, and they'll fall over and they'll be dead. And
I I understand that like Filoni wanted it in there because we needed to show that Sabine was wielding a lightsaber but wasn't good at it. But also, we've seen the trailers. We knew that she survived, and so there's no there's no shock factor. There's no we're just like, oh, okay, they did this again. They did this with Qui-Gon. They did this with the Grand Inquisitor. They did this with the third sister. Now they're doing it with Sabine. I mean, like it's overdone. I mean, I wish they cut off a leg or something. To be honest with you,
Not to mention. Oh, never mind. Good.
What? No, say it.
Go ahead. Will they chop his dick off? Will they replace it with a robot dick?
No,
Come on, bro.
It's just
What do you want to say?
I don't know where on the timeline this falls, but like the most of the Inquisitors that were in Obi-Wan, we saw get murdered in Rebels. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Did the fifth brother? He's the fifth brother, right? I can't forget what number
he dies in
He's one
Twilight
of
of the
brothers.
Apprentice too, or whatever. Doesn't
You're
Maul kill him?
right. Doesn't he kill both of them? Because
Yeah.
there's also that one girl. She goes, "I prefer brains." Yeah, that one girl.
Yeah, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Well, I think Obi-Wan.
She voiced her.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think
He voices
Obi-Wan's supposed to be
Kanan.
taking. Yeah, good for him.
Sorry,
I think
Chair, go for it.
I was just saying. I think Obi-Wan's supposed to take place around the same time the Jedi Survivor Games are taking place, which is like mid-height of the Empire. So I don't know when those
Yeah.
Inquisitors show up, and Luke is like what? Luke is born. Luke is obviously already
Luke is
born
like
because it's Darth Vader.
8 to 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Well, because it said 10 years, so he's 10.
Yeah.
I mean, does no one ever talk about that Ezra and Luke and Leia were born on the same exact day?
I don't think that's very popularized. I don't think a lot of people know that.
But that's
Yeah.
true. Like, am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's why I
I
said
don't know
No.
specific
Let's-
galactic dates.
No, let's pull it back. Season 1, he is all upset because he was born on Empire Day. It was his 15th birthday. It was the 15th anniversary of Empire Day, the day that that Palpatine declared that it would be the new Empire. It was the day of Order 66.
Mm,
Interesting.
that'd be interesting. That's an
They
interesting
are-
theory. I haven't heard that one before. That's cool.
Really? Am I the only one who
Yeah.
thinks about this?
Yeah,
Oh my
I didn't
god.
think about
Yeah.
that.
You should post that online and get a bunch of updates on Reddit, dude. Your karma
I'm
goes through the roof.
I'm very off grid, unfortunately. I feel like I would love to have, hey, to our listeners out there, I'm Star Whores on Instagram, but replace the O with a dot or a period. Okay.
Yeah,
I post memes and stuff. They're reposts, but
classic.
anyway,
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
also
I
have
don't-
ambitions, right, to start your own podcast called Star Whores, right?
I do. So this is my first podcast feature. Very excited about it. It's going great. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
yeah.
All of our adoring viewers definitely got to flood your podcast, and don't worry, soon you too will be living in a high rise in LA, living off of DoorDash gift cards, bro. The
Perfect.
sponsorship.
Love So yeah, because I have a lot of hot takes. One of my not to get off topic here, but I would love to do is because I watch a lot of YouTube and I've mentioned that before. I love to do episode breakdowns because I am often watching Star Wars episodes by myself and I'm talking out loud and I'm adding commentary on all the things that I would change or things that I don't like or things I find funny. or plot holes or continuity errors, and I kind of just like want to pick it apart episode by episode. So that's like my theory. Maybe one day it'll happen.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I always like the idea of like doing a recap but simplifying it. You can be like, okay, so these motherfuckers arrive on this planet and they're like, hey, motherfucker, hey, you're coming with me. And the other guys is like, no, motherfucker, I'm bitching you out.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah. And then they just start blasting.
Bam, bam, credits run. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that's funny. But I said earlier, Ahsoka's not as good as Andor. I think it's kind of unfair to compare them, and you shouldn't compare them. But are you happy with it, with the series? Do you hope there's more? And if there's not more, will that change your answer? Like,
So I'm happy with it because the fan service just did me so well. Like I love any piece of Star Wars content I can get. You know, even if I tear it apart, I'm just happy with it. There are some things that I probably would have done differently, but that's not to say that I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it. There's nothing that I would change. There are some things that I wish they got into more depth in, but I'm satisfied.
okay, fair enough. And
Good.
you're hoping for a season 2 for sure.
So yes. So I would love a deep dive into the Gods of Mortis because that is my absolute favorite story arc in Clone Wars. I think it's very interesting that the daughter's head is not there, and right before that scene, we literally see the Morai, the owl thing. Am I saying that right? Yeah. You know, and I think and I was obsessed with that because that was the first time we saw that in live action, and like. Yeah, I am a girl that just like likes to see things in live action. I am the girl that will say, "Hey, I will watch a whole season of Clone Wars live action, even if it's just stupid," you know. So, as much as I would like it to go into depth, if we do get a season 2, I would still be happy if we didn't.
Yeah. Okay. And you think the Morai is Ahsoka, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's just the daughter.
So for me, all these times where Ahsoka should have died and she didn't, right? I mean, I think it wasn't like at the end of the day, yes, Ezra did pull her out of the world into the world between worlds in that scene. But I think the only reason why that was destined to happen is because she is the Morai, right? She is the daughter because in that scene, the light from the daughter literally goes into her. And so that's why the bird follows her because the bird followed the daughter. And that's why I think that they still need 2 souls to take over the father and the son. And that's why we don't see the daughter because it's already taken. It's Ahsoka. Ahsoka is it. That's why she can't die. That's why she was in the world between worlds when she fell off the cliff. That's why she had that second opportunity. I think she had to finish that because last time she was in the world between worlds, she was fighting Vader. Why do you think the next time she's in the world between worlds, she has to fight Vader again? Right? Anyway.
It is very interesting stuff, guys. Very interesting stuff.
Yep.
Chair, your thoughts on Ahsoka overall? Were you satisfied? And do you hope for more, or would it just irritate you if there was more?
Well, first off, let me answer your question. Everything fucking irritates me. Okay, so that's never gonna have an answer to that one. Second off, you know, I just there were some really good episodes, but also like as a whole, they don't really work together very well. And I just think that there was some good character growth and stuff like that, sure. But as on the whole, I don't know. I just had really high. I think I just had really high expectations, and I feel like they should have been met considering everything that was going into this series that should have made it work. And there was just a lot of basic, things that just didn't. I don't know. They could have explained it better. They could have shot it better. They could have added more episodes. They could have rewrote a few things to made them more clear. Definitely could have recasted Thrawn maybe with someone who was like 7 feet tall and and just done a voiceover.
Not to interrupt. I am so sorry, but not to interrupt. I needed that voice. There's no way. And
you can have the voice, just
It
like
is a
Darth
good
Vader.
voice. Even
just like the
rereading
guy-
Thrawn books, I hear
you
that voice in
can
my
do
head.
Vader's voice
Hey,
because there's no mouth moving.
Wait, yeah, but you can do the same. You can do the same thing now, and you can. I feel like you could do it. You
Okay.
could do it. I feel like you could do it. And I
Yeah,
just feel
AI
like
has
they
been
need
crazy,
to not AI or whatever. I feel like this technology that we just have available. I don't know, and I just feel like that. he's not very intimidating. That dude does not scare me. I'm sorry. And like when he just like when I saw his face like make that little puckered frown like he just ate something sour, like when the Jedi got into the temple, I was like, dude, this is I can't like take him seriously anymore. And like you're right, that one scene where he hyperspaced off was pretty cool because it kind of reminded me of something from a video game, to be honest, like that. But it's whatever. And I just as a whole, like I don't have the most. I don't think the positive, probably the most positive takeaway. Probably for me, it'd probably be like a 6 or a 7.
That's not bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, it was a good series. There's a lot in there to love. And there's nothing that like I didn't like in particular. It's just, it's one of those things where like it's hard to because you want to be able to judge something for what it is, and you shouldn't judge it for what it isn't. And unfortunately, we're like, well, it should have been this or could have been this, and like that doesn't mean it was bad for what it was. It just wasn't as good as it could have been, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
it was still fine for what it was, and I still appreciate it. And I'll still rewatch the series to maybe my thoughts will change. And I think it's important for everybody to understand that like it's okay to like have criticisms of things you love. And the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. And if we were just like, yeah, who cares, whatever, so whatever, I don't care,
quote unquote, I'm keeping that.
Yeah, like love and hate are very, very close together, right? Like you'll never hate anybody more than you hate someone you love, because like they know how to irritate you. Like someone you don't care about, they can't betray you the way someone you love can, right? And they'll never make you feel that extreme, right? So love and hate very close together on the spectrum. Indifference is kind of the opposite. Like when you don't care, when you're done, that's
So exactly. And to get, too into it, we have been given so many episodes, right, with these animated series that we've grown to love and care and really be passionate about. So that's why, when we have gotten all of these hours and hours of detail, when we have to fit it into these series, we are left with questions like, wait, what about this? What about this? Because we, like you said, we are so passionate about it.
Yeah.
Not like we hate it. It's just we love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of people get that confused. Like, oh, you guys just have a high standard, and you hate Star Wars. Like, no, bro, we just, yeah. Go listen to our talk about
speak
episode
for
5.
yourself. Okay, I have high standards, and I hate everything, so that includes Star Wars. So there's that.
But you continue to watch it, so
yeah, I do because I just gotta consume something.
Because he hates himself too.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I'm the ultimate masochist. No. Yeah,
you gotta have something to judge, right?
Yeah, and then I gotta judge Loki coming out tomorrow too. That's coming out.
I know, you guys. I'm so excited. Okay, yeah.
But but just overall, I think if the story they wanted to end up with is okay, Thrawn like is unleashed upon the galaxy. I feel like that they could have done this in better ways. That feels a lot more on stable ground. In a self-contained one season. I think this is what I probably would have come down to. I feel like
already know what's gonna happen. Luke is gonna show up, and
he's gonna beat up
whatever. And
yeah,
and
but the thing is, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know, but we don't know how we're gonna Ahsoka and Sabine home, or if we're ever gonna get them home. Are they just gonna be at peace being homeless? I don't fucking know.
No, to me, it's that they're gonna come back. Like it's like he set up a plot device in his back pocket that he can whip out of his ass to fix any problem that he's ever in. Because we hyperspaced in with another whale. Okay, we're here now, guys. Like
okay, yes, but also wouldn't that kind of explain why Ahsoka isn't in the sequels?
I thought it was because she died.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. Is like they all have to be gone at some point. Ezra can't be he can't survive until Luke becomes a Jedi, because like we need to get rid of all the Jedi except for Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda before
to be able to say it's the actual Last Jedi.
Yeah.
No, because whoever made The Last Jedi never watched a single piece of Star Wars film in their life. It's not canon.
No, not just because of The Last Jedi, but because when A New Hope starts, there are no Jedi. It's just Obi-Wan and Yoda, right? Yep. And Luke is their last hope, right? Like they put everything into Luke, knowing that he's the only one, right? And before Vader dies, obviously, then temporarily you have another Jedi, right?
But the whole time that's happening, Ezra is in another galaxy, and that's why he's the last Jedi, or he's the only hope, or something like that.
but Ahsoka is also somewhere out there, apparently. Or was she in the world between worlds the whole time?
Bro, was
No,
she?
because Ezra pulled her out before he left, though.
Yeah, but she has to go back in the door where she entered. She can't just go anywhere.
I'm curious. Oh, I thought she time traveled because Ezra pulled her back into where the time that he was in.
Well, he pulled her into the world between worlds, right? And then he when he was
They separated.
leaving, yeah, she couldn't go with him because she understood that, like, the same reason why he couldn't pull Kanan out, because Kanan would go back into a world where nobody's alive anymore because he sacrificed himself to save them. So pulling him out would kill them, and the world that Kanan re-entered, they'd all be dead, right? And Ahsoka understands that, like, and this is what I watched an interview with Dave Filoni where he talked about it, and he said the world between worlds isn't like, it's not for time travel, and it's not like pretty much he said it's just a place where the Force meets. Like, it's a convergence of the Force on a physical plane, and that's why, like, you can hear, like, different voices there from, like, Obi-Wan and Yoda and whatever, and, like, those things have no, like, Ezra doesn't know them, so, like, they have no meaning for him, but for us as an audience, they have meaning for us. Like, we know who those characters are, and then Ezra can only see things he's related to. Like, he can't see doorways into, you know, Obi-Wan versus Anakin or anything. He only can see the Kanan event and the Ahsoka event because he was there for those.
Right. To your point, it does make sense, though, because if you think about it, if you go back to season 2, episode 22, at the very end, when Kanan and Ezra go back and, you know, they face Rex and they don't bring Ahsoka back, and everyone just knows that they're one person down. But then it flashes back to, you watch Vader walking out of that building and he's like all confused. And then next thing you know, you see the back of Ahsoka and she's like walking like this, but she almost looks like she's walking back into the temple. And it's very interesting. I always am curious to know if, like, Filoni knew when he did that in the season finale of episode 2 or season 2, that what was going to happen in season 4.
Yeah, I mean, I
I've
don't know
always
if he
been
knew.
interested about that.
I don't know if he knew, but he knew that plot line wasn't finished yet, right? Like, we don't know what happens. We know obviously Vader survives. We don't know what happens to Ahsoka, right? So maybe his thought was, well, we can assume Ahsoka dies because that'll set up nicely for the future. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, that's getting off on a tangent, but I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing we didn't really talk about was Hera and Ezra's reunion.
We didn't.
It was all right. I don't know. It didn't make me cry or anything, but, you know.
I was sitting there and I was like, why are neither of you running? That's your mom. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Bro, Chopper was more excited to see him. When he thought he was a stormtrooper, he was happy to see him. He was like, bro, it's just someone new. Yeah.
I really can't wait to see. I really want to see Ezra and Jason meet.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole question, is like, what's next for these characters? Is this going to tie in any way to the other series, Skeleton Crew, whenever that comes out?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we have so many more questions than answers at this point, which at the end of a series or a season you shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly. That's, to me, the thing
that
really ripped me.
I have an unpopular opinion about that. I think it's great. That means that if they don't give us something, that's really poor on them. And I feel like for the most part, they have kind of shown up for us. So that means that there is something coming, and that gives me hope.
Yeah, I think
no pun intended.
The better way to think about it is it's not so much that it ended up on a cliffhanger, because cliffhangers are something that, right, like, you end on the new beat or the first beat of a new story, and that's resolved immediately in the next beat of that story whenever you see it years later or months later. This isn't going to be resolved right away. Thrawn being back is not a cliffhanger. It's what I refer to as a game changer. Our entire understanding of Star Wars at this point has changed. Or not Star Wars, but this story, right? Like, the whole New Republic, and there weren't really threats other than, like, little cells of Imperial people that were, like, turning against, you know, whatever. Like, that was it. But Thrawn being back, that's huge.
But
so
the
we're
issue
told.
the issue with that is that, well, we know that for a fact because at the very end we see him and they're looking at Dathomir.
Yeah.
My issue is that we know what happens after that. So we know as of right now Thrawn's returning, and then we know in I don't know how many years in advance The Force Awakens is. But at that point, we can only assume that Thrawn is defeated.
Well, it's got to be another like 20 to 30 years after this.
So you think, right. So then Kylo
Luke,
could defeat him. Blah
Luke
blah blah blah.
This
blah,
is probably what
theories.
like 35 or 40. Like in The Force Awakens is like he's like 60 something, right? So.
Yeah, because of Ahsoka. So it's been 10 years since he left, and he left when he was like, how old do you think? 17, 18?
Yeah, so it's hard to really put this in perspective, but my assumption is that he left right around the time of the Battle of Yavin, right? So like right before essentially the Battle of Yavin. And so this has got to be like 11 years-ish after that, which is 6 years after Return of the Jedi. So Luke is like in his prime, and is like.
So if you think you're right, if we jump back to what I said, that they were born on the same day, A New Hope, Luke is 19. So Ezra is around 18, 19. So he must be 29, 30 in the Ahsoka series, right?
Yeah.
So that means you're right. So it's 30 years from now to A Force Awakens. So what happens in between that?
Well, the rise of the First Order and all that stuff, yeah. And you'd assume Thrawn has a hand in that and trying to bring the Emperor back. And hey, guys, we're probably going to get into cloning soon.
Yeah.
I mean, and we can resurrect the dead on Dathomir, maybe.
And this is the fundamental problem I'm going to have with this. Like when we start with Episode 7. As far as the New Republic is concerned, like they can't do anything about the First Order. So what is the New Republic gonna just fucking sit there while Thrawn goes around collecting Imperial remnants and building
it's infiltrated,
up
right?
So,
like we saw in season 3 of The Mandalorian, right? That one chick who was like working within the New Republic, like high up in the New Republic.
Oh, I remember that girl.
Just infiltrating shit because that plot line in The Mandalorian seemed very pointless. Like it was like its own little story that like had almost nothing to do with the rest of the series. Other than like the scientist guy who was working on, surprise, surprise, cloning, right? So it's all tying in, but like they're not making it obvious. So when Dave Filoni's movie comes out and it all comes to a head and it has to do with the New Republic crumbling because Thrawn's returned and we get the Mandalorian and all these other characters and Ahsoka and everybody together again, it's not going to be a surprise, but they haven't like explicitly tied anything in. Well, they have. Ahsoka was in The Mandalorian, but... And the Siege of Mandalore. They're tying it in pretty explicitly, I guess, now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I feel like it's just going to end with Thrawn, Thrawn collecting Imperial remnants. They fight the Empire. Like, there's some big... In this movie that happens, the New Republic teams up with all these heroes, and they fight the, Thrawn and the Imperial remnants or whatever. And then, like, maybe that section of the Imperial remnants, like, flies off in a dark space and becomes, like, the First Order. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. And
but you can't do that in one movie, right? You can't do that.
You
can do that in, like, a 20-episode season. Like, you have to remember, Heir to the Empire was, like, 3 books.
Yeah, books. Yeah, it was 3 books. But you have to remember, there's a lot of things they shouldn't have done. They could have done in Ahsoka that they shouldn't have done in 8 episodes. The last of which was 42 minutes long. Just because they shouldn't doesn't mean they're not gonna.
So my phone was dying, so I had to plug it in, and so I'm not on my headphones anymore, so I don't know how my audio is.
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And then these ones aren't charging, but it's fine. Exactly. Like to Chair's point, there were a lot of minutes in this whole entire season that could totally be put out and replaced with some better content, some more better filler content than what we were given.
Or just add a whole new episode, just keep what's there, but add in a new episode with some plot lines that mix in the middle and stuff,
Yeah, 8 episodes is too short for anything. Like 10 to 12 is a sweet spot.
12.
Andor had 14.
Yeah, I remember Andor being so long. Yeah, it had that heist in the beginning, and then it went to the prison sequence, and then he went back.
14 episodes?
I'm pretty sure it didn't have 14.
Andor was so fucking good. I wish I could watch Andor again.
Am I mistaken about Andor? What had?
Should I go look it up right now? Here.
I wonder if I can smoke enough weed and then I can forget that I ever watched Andor and then I'm gonna watch it again.
I'm opening.
That's a good goal to have.
Yeah. I got the house to myself this weekend, so I guess we're definitely pushing that.
Andor.
Are we trying to see who's gonna figure it out fast? I'm on my I'm on my TV right now.
12. Sorry,
Google.
at 12.
Yeah, 12.
12 is still a lot, though,
Yeah.
especially for them being long episodes. I feel like every episode was at least like 45 minutes.
12 feels like the standard. Wasn't Stranger Things like, 12 episodes long? Because I feel like Stranger Things like set the bar for basically like streamed shows. And it's I remember like I said had the perfect amount of episodes to explain everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just think it's like Obi-Wan was only 6. Like Ahsoka was only
Fuck,
8.
Really?
No wonder I hated it so much. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like, I feel like there are some of these shows that I legitimately hate. I'm just like, taming my opinion because what else I'm gonna say? Like, I hate how short this shit is. Like, and it feels like it's shittier because of how short it is. And I feel like they make it short because I don't know, man. With Bob Iger, like, I feel like when that other dude was in there as the CEO, he was like all in on streaming, and then Bob Iger came in and he hit the brakes, and then he like pumped the brakes on streaming, and that's why everything feels so neutered is maybe the word I want to go with. Like these shows don't feel like they're hitting me in the way they should be. Like the way the first season of The Mandalorian did, or the second season, until they used it as like the jumping off point for all these other shows that most of which got canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it could have definitely done one more episodes, but I don't know. I still appreciate Ahsoka. Like it's just there's so much there to enjoy, so I can't dislike it, But
yesterday as soon as I got home from work, I turned on episode 1 again to try to like binge watch the series beforehand, and I don't know if it's just me or like my excitement, but like even watching the second or third time, like I still almost got just as excited as I got watching the first time. Like it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think because I asked Chair this last week. I said if the finale isn't good, is it similar to like Game of Thrones, where like the last season was so off that it ruined people's feeling about the entire series?
Game of Thrones is more of a train wreck. I would say that this is more just like again going down a really bumpy road. Like when you're trying to watch a show.
Did it sour your taste about the rest of the episodes, or like
no?
Okay.
See, the thing is, last episode wasn't bad. I just think together as a whole thing, it doesn't work very well. And I think they're telling a story for like the setup for like the rest of whatever's next to come, which I don't have right now. So that makes me upset because I'm a dumb chimpanzee. I don't know. Like,
we're just impatient.
Like
we just want everything now.
Well, no, if you're going to tell a story that's leading up to another story, then you should make that other story. Like, it's like reading a good book, you want to be able to read it all together, like as the whole thing right away. And it's just, you can't.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, we've been live for almost an hour and a half, and I'm sure everybody's hungry by now and wants to go enjoy some food.
I can't have McDonald's because I've had McDonald's the past 2 days in a row, and I can't have it 3 days in a row, or else my intestines will literally kill me, and I'll literally explode. So I gotta find something else.
I'm still going strong. I haven't had McDonald's since July of 2022.
They brought their spicy nuggets back, bro, for the week. Oh my god, dude!
But Taco Bell brought back nacho fries.
Yeah, but they got vegan cheese sauce.
Unpopular
now.
opinion.
Taco Bell is delicioso.
No, Taco Bell is great, but if I'm gonna order French fries, it's not gonna be from Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. You know who has really good fries that surprised me is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Those secret recipe fries are actually really good. I was really surprised.
Bro, I haven't had KFC in like 10 years. Like
tastes like shit. I went to KFC the other day, dude. It went straight through me. I was on the toilet within 3 hours. Like it was the worst.
See, guys, this is what happens. I mentioned food, and now we're talking about food. We're talking about all our food opinions. Phoenix is gonna talk about her delicious Chick-fil-A breakfast she gets. I don't even know how you get that. There's no Chick-fil-A near here.
The Chick-fil-A by me closed down, and so I don't really know what to do. But I've been eating from home. I have a Dairy Queen that's like 2 doors down from me, so that's kind of like my secret,
there you go.
my guilty pleasure. But
never had Dairy Queen actually.
I got like expensive ass rent to pay now, so I just eat at home every day.
Honestly, though,
I live with my parents like a delinquent and smoke a bunch of weed, so obviously I eat like shit.
Hey, you do you, boo boo.
Yeah, man, I do, and I do me, bro. Trust me, I do me all the time. I've had 60 nuggets in the past 3 days, bro. And a double cheeseburger with them. Oh man, those chocolate chip cookies. Oh.
Well, I hope you make better choices.
Nah, man, never in a million years.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. It was a pleasure. I hope to come back again.
Yeah,
come
you're
back
always
whenever.
welcome. Huge shout outs to you. Thank you for for hanging out
I
with
have
us.
I have a fucking lot to say, so I'm sorry, but I would love to come back if we have any other themed topics to talk about. I could talk until I'm blue in the face. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys can check out her Instagram, Star Whores. Just replace the O with a period, and you'll find it.
STAR dot. No, sorry, I lied. Back it up the list. STARWH dot RES.
Yep. There you go. So you can find the Instagram. She posts funny memes, all Star Wars related, and I'm sure if you start your podcast, you'll post about it on there as well. So
Heck yeah,
it's a
you'll
way
be the first to know.
that's a way to keep up with her, and we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody who's listening, watching, whatever. Like, follow, subscribe, click all the buttons, do all the things. Much love, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.